thank all of you for your participation, for your thoughtful engagement. We've had speakers that addressed a wide range of issues. We've got a number of thank yous that we want to do, and we also have a closing sort of interactive thing we'd like to do with our two keynote speakers. And then we have a little inspirational thing as we leave and go back into the world.
Great.
You want to start with some thank yous? Or?
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you, Senator, for addressing us and closing the conference. What a great way for us to finish off our 2 days. But first of all, I'd like to thank Art Place. This conference is part of our Art Place America grant. Liz Crane, where are you, Liz? Thank you very much, Liz. This is, I hope it's as valuable to you as it has been to us. The last 2 years, this grant has been transformational for our organization, and thank you very much. I'd like to thank the NEA for also being a partner in this project. Sunil's here. Thank you, Sunil and Jason, for being part of this. Randy from RISCA, thank you for this afternoon and organizing the Data Fest, and hopefully it met your objectives. Certainly added value to our conference, and really appreciate it. I think the Omni Providence did a fantastic job with this conference. The food was pretty spectacular, and the venue itself and the service was absolutely excellent. Lynn McCormick was helpful, extremely helpful in organizing the program and the agenda, and we really appreciate, she had to step out, but we appreciate her help. And then the local artists who are involved in this, we wanted a conference that actually created place. And I think without our local artists, starting out with Janice Lee Kelly. Is Janice Lee Kelly here for these balloon installations? And festival ballet performance yesterday, that was, for me, that was pretty moving performance. That was fantastic to have them. Big Nazo, I think Arminio is in the room right now. Thank you. That was fantastic, as always. And then the public caresser, I don't remember his name.
Marvin Novogrovsky.
You better say it.
And Marvin Novogrovsky, one of the many public caressers around the country. It's actually an original concept that he's come up with, but his implication is that it's almost like going to a certified public accountant. There just should be an official office of public caresser everywhere.
We also had an incredible team of volunteers here, and they're here at every WaterFire. Some of them are here for like 18 years. These people are absolutely amazing, and some of them are in the room right now. Christine Mayno has been, I think, the whole conference here, kind of leading the whole pack, and I'd just like to give a round of applause to our volunteers. And we have a rock-solid staff, an amazing, absolutely amazing staff, and I couldn't have, I've been kind of the point person on this conference, and I could not have survived without, first of all, Donna Lee Gennaro. Donna Lee has just rocked it. So. Jess Powers, you two, both of you guys have been absolutely incredible. And then we got our team of Tims back in the back of the room there on video and audio, just media guys, just absolutely incredible. And then somebody who's not here, but Laura Duclos is our graphic designer who did all of the wayfinding and the tickets and everything else for this. She did an amazing job.
She's working on the office.
Yeah, she's hard at work on tomorrow's WaterFire. And then, of course, Barnaby, an inspiration every single day of the week, and just... What's that?
And Paul's back here.
Oh, yeah. Well, Paul Margrave, Barnaby just mentioned. Paul is one of our interns and friends, and been doing great work. Also, everybody who came and participated, that's what it was about. It's about participation, not attendance, and you guys really rocked it on participation and advanced, I believe, advanced the conversation. And we're going to do that in one more second. I just also want to thank Ann Gadwa Nicodemus, who has been helped me plan this, has been a confidant, just somebody I could bounce ideas off of, and has been a guiding light through this whole process. So appreciate it. I hope I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag here, but Ann is getting married tomorrow at WaterFire, so we're really honored that. We're really honored that Anne has chosen the place to do that special day, have that special day to be somewhat affiliated with WaterFire. So thank you very much for making that us part of your life. And on that note, I'd like to invite Anne up to join us. But it is about participation, and we want to continue the conversation right now. We do have, I think everybody knows, we do have a hard stop at 5 o'clock, and Barnaby has a little surprise towards the end. Never short on surprises at WaterFire. So, Anne, do you want to join us? And Anne Markusen.
So I wanted to knit together a few themes that I've been hearing throughout these 2 days, and sort of new connections, and then what our plan is to do the roving mic thing and have one more conversation. But one thing Peter didn't talk about was the idea that this should be a continuing resource for the field. And if I'm misspeaking at all, please correct me. But so as you probably noticed, all of the conversations and talks have been videotaped, and those are going to be put on the conference website. But there's also plans to have interactive components. So one of the themes that we talked about in these 2 days was the need for field building. So one reason we're considering doing evaluation is because on an individual project or practitioner basis, folks are trying to figure out how to do things more effectively. Not just what happens, but why it happens, how can they learn from things? And then on a more national, larger level, how can we learn from each other? So this is a plan to continue that conversation, hopefully, have a record so people can go back to, and then deepen it. And also, there'll be a space for informal conversation at AS 220. So if you're jazzed and just really want to unpack, do so over a beer, there'll be an opportunity to do that. So some themes that I have heard. I think that we heard this term movement kicked around. The creative placemaking movement. People talked, this is just, but then there was a dichotomy too, saying, I also heard the opposite saying, we've been talking about this forever. First it was cultural tourism, and then it was the creative economy, and there's the creative class, and now we have a new word for it. It's all the same thing. I think something different is going on here, but there is a risk that it could be a flash in the pan, the latest funding trend. So what are the ways in which, as Maria Rosario Jackson said, we can change systems? So 20 years from now, what systems do we want to see different? What types of practices at city government how would that look? And how would we get there? And then working backwards, what do we need to put into place to realize that vision so that it is actually a movement? And then I think we also heard people struggling with this notion of evaluation and metrics and indicators on a number of levels. So there's this, going back to my original points, why do we evaluate? People talked about the need for case making. People also talked about the need to improve practice and for field building. And at each of those points, people are coming at this from different places. There's the NEA, an art place, trying to figure out how to do this, and for their own investment portfolio, and as leaders for the field, how do they help give practitioners and grantees tools, and how do they communicate with their constituents what the outcomes are, and then there are folks on the ground that are struggling with this. I don't know how to be a data wonk, Give me some tools. I don't have the money to pay an evaluator. And it's just important to try to be very clear about who is trying to do this work and why. Why would you be going into this work of evaluation? Is it about case making for your own project? Are you trying to learn? To think about what is successful creative placemaking, or maybe you're not even in that world and you're just doing something sort of tangential, but you're here because you're interested. But what does success look like? How would you know it if you tripped over it? And who gets to decide, right? So thinking about those different constituents that help formulate what your goals and outcomes should be, and then thinking about the end user for who's your audience, your target audience for some sort of evaluative piece. And one thing that I heard trickling up a lot, which I did not place enough emphasis, and this has really helped expand my thinking, was the importance of the medium of communication. Clay Rockefeller made that provocative point about, we're design fields and practice. Why can't we have better looking numbers? Why are these things always so boring? And people talked about, the numbers don't sing, versus, people discount the anecdotes. So what different mediums can be most effective for your target end audience or end audiences? And maybe it's a combination, but I guess, there's the tension to say, well, you need to start at the beginning. Maybe you need to start at the end. Both in terms of thinking about where we want to be building this as a movement and what systems we need to change, Maria Rosario Jackson's great point, and also just on this practical level of evaluation. Who are you trying to reach? What would resonate for them? How you could get there? And being sure to try to think outside the box about potential partners that you could help augment any deficiencies you have in terms of data wonky nerdiness. So are there partners at your local universities? Can you drill into the arts, AFTA's Arts Animating Democracy toolkits and try to get informed about ways in which you might incorporate this reflective learning in a really, simple first step kind of way?
I do think that, I'll just pick two things out so there's so many things I could say back. One of them is, I do think this question about how we learn from each other is really, really important. And that one part of field building is to figure out, there's so many things going on in different places, but I do feel that we really found this in our work, that a lot of people are reinventing the same wheel, and they could really benefit from knowing what other people's experiences are. How can we build something that's really easily accessible so that you can really hear and understand from other people, and you can find people who have situations similar to yours, or you can pose questions. I don't know. We don't have that really in this creative placemaking field, and it would be very interesting if we did. And the other thing, this is just a riff, but I really love the question you're asking about, well, what's the right medium? And I want to just say that I think photography is one of the most powerful ones. And one of the things that we have been doing in our work is really using photographs a lot to tell the story. And I found when I first started doing this work that I would ask people, well, I was trying to study space for artists. And I would say, would you send me pictures of your space, your place? And they would send me pictures that had been done by architects with no people in them. And I'd send them back and say, I want to see people in the space. I want to see how people are interacting in the space. And a lot of them were very challenged by that. And over time, it's been possible to do that more and more. And I, as somebody who never had a bit of visual intelligence, have learned a lot about photography, not doing it myself, but how to judge what a good picture is. I think great pictures are amazing communicators, and that we don't even think about that enough, but that's just one little thing I want to add. How about you?
This is our speaking wand, I think. I just wanted to say that the touchstone, which I think all of us kept coming back to, is to keep returning to the art. The comments that Robert brought up at the end about this capacity of what is communicated through the art forms sometimes isn't reachable through words. We can reach it through words, but it reaches us more directly in other ways. And when the NEA, I'm so delighted the NEA has gotten in this. When we first applied to the NEA after doing WaterFire for 7 years, we got a phone call from the NEA saying, we don't understand what you just sent to us. We think maybe you sent us the wrong videotape or the pictures. There are all these people, they're listening to music, there's a lot going on, but we're not sure this is art. And that's exactly what the NEA said for our first application. And I think what we were trying to do, and all of us have been doing successfully, is talk about the importance of bringing art into people's lives, because art touches us all. It's in the barrios, it's in our ethnic communities, it's downtown. In fact, I'll add one little story which we talk about at WaterFire all the time, which is years and years ago, probably 12 years ago, we were at WaterFire, and I ran into a construction worker at WaterFire during the day, and he said, are you guys with WaterFire? And I said, yes. And he said, I just want to tell you, I love WaterFire. And he was there with his hard hat and his construction workers and his steel-toed work boots, and he'd been doing the structural steel for what's now Providence Place. And he was doing the high steel and bolting it all together. And he said, I was here at WaterFire last Saturday, and I was here with my kids and my wife and my mother-in-law and my mother-in-law's sister, and we were here till almost midnight, and we didn't have one fight. And I said, well, that's great. And he said, no, you don't understand. Wherever we go, we always go with 2 cars because someone's going to go home early. And I didn't know what to say, and he kept talking, and he said, you know, this WaterFire thing, I don't want to upset you, and I don't want you to take this wrong because it's going to sound weird, but this WaterFire thing, it's almost like it's art or something. And that's exactly how he put it, with all those warnings and projections. It's almost like it's art or something. And a kid we'd been working with from our neighborhood in South Providence named Manny started jumping up and down and said, see, I told you it wasn't art. I told you it wasn't art. And I said, Manny, that's a wonderful, wonderful statement. I'm not sure where he focused that art was in his life, whether it was in a cathedral in Europe or in church on a Sunday or hopefully in the RISD Museum or something like that. But he knew that something had sort of descended down and come down and built solidarity and peace and community. And this whole night was something he looked forward to. So the touchstone I think we always have to come back to is bringing art into people's lives and getting over that, threshold's the wrong word. It's a bigger barrier than a threshold. There's this barrier that keeps people someone was talking earlier about how uncomfortable she was going into the Metropolitan Museum of Art. And I was telling her, I feel uncomfortable going into the Metropolitan Art. It's meant to be a huge, imposing structure, this gigantic temple that you climb all the stairs up. That's the vocabulary of the architecture. The architect did that quite deliberately to tell you that this was an ascension you're making. And the Metropolitan would be delighted for anyone who comes through the doors, but somehow that doesn't come through. So we've been taking the art out into the streets to get people to engage with it, but just as much we need to build down those walls, which aren't intentionally there, but they're psychologically there for everyone. And so I think and what bubbled up through this conference all day was everyone kept saying that the arts inform us, the arts guide us.